Hi everyone, Steve Johnson here, owner and lead trainer of Truth2Lies. Welcome to the first of many posts regarding truth to lies and everything that lies in between and is associated with it. We're going to have a lot of fun with this. As most of you know, I'm very passionate about the effectiveness and use of statement linguistics, statement profiling, and everything that associated with it. I worked 28 years in law enforcement and another 5 years since then in consulting and training law enforcement and corporate and now the general public. And I have not found anything in all that time more effective. If I thought that there was something more effective, that would be where my focus would be, because I want the criminal investigators to have the absolute best tools that they can, and to be able to do their jobs as efficiently and effectively and soundly as possible, to not only put those that need to be put in prison away, but likewise to clear the innocent, to clear those that are wrongfully accused. You know, the language will show it, and I'm telling you, there's just nothing better out there. No other tool that's just better for doing both of those things. So anyway, that's what I'm passionate about, and so this will be the first of many. So welcome to episode 1. Today I want to focus on unsolicited explanations. This is something that is universally used when analyzing statements of any type, either written or verbal. It's something that we hear in language all the time. Unsolicited explanations. And what this means is that when you hear an unsolicited explanation, it means that the person giving it has an acute need to explain something. And that's it. It shows an area of high sensitivity, meaning, I guess in the context of a criminal investigation, it would be an area of high stress, that they need to explain it. They have this acute need to explain. In everyday life, we hear them all the time. And it simply shows that there is a need to explain it. There's rather than just simply stating something, we have to add in an explanation as to why it occurs. Let me give you an example. A couple days ago, I was running some errands. I had a couple errands to run in different directions, and one was way downtown and going on the freeway, and the other didn't have anything to do with the freeway at all. And I told my wife, hey, I'm going to go run that errand downtown first because I don't want to run into rush hour. And I think if I leave right now, I can beat rush hour. And then I'm going to go do the other one because that place will still be open later on. And so I gave an explanation as to why I was going to go do the first one. And then I even followed up with an explanation of why I was going to do the second one second. Because. And that's something that is normal within human communication. We just have to look at the context. Is it appropriate within the context? And in that case, it is. You'll hear it in your own language all the time. Now, things change when we are investigating a crime or an incident in corporate or human resource investigations. You might be investigating a workplace injury complaint, might be investigating a sexual harassment complaint or something similar. And it's very common to call the party in, either the person making the complaint or both parties involved in a sexual harassment complaint, and to ask them, tell me what happened. That's the best question ever, or some form of it. Describe in detail what occurred from the time you woke up until the time you went home from work, or the time you went to bed, or describe in detail what happened from the time you got to work until the time you went home for a workplace incident. Questions like that are very effective. And when someone gives us an answer, man, we're going to gain a lot of information. They're going to give us a lot of very useful information as long as they respond to that and tell us what happened. The key is knowing what to do with that information, how to glean the information that we need out of it, and knowing what is significant for us and what isn't, and what to leave on the table that we don't need to look at. So there's a couple things that happen in life that can create an abundance of vigilance or an overvigilance mindset, a need to over-explain, and that is trauma. Prior to this, I've had a couple of videos posted on YouTube, not very many, but in response to one of those videos, there's a lady named Linda that wrote in something that was very important for us to look at and to take into consideration. And I'll read what she wrote. Linda grew up in an abusive relationship and a situation, since she was young. And this is what she wrote. She says, "Hello, Steve. I came here from the interview room," which is a YouTube channel belonging to my friend Chris McDonough, retired homicide detective. She said, "I find your interpretations fascinating. I must say I do tend to over-explain myself, especially to authority figures. As the eldest of 4, growing up in a DV environment," which those of you that aren't in law enforcement, that's a domestic violence environment, DV, "I was not allowed to speak before the belt would come out. When I was telling the truth, I was not believed. My father always wanted proof and details before he believed you. And if he did believe you, you might not get beaten. I'm 74 now, and I've struggled with over-explaining and also telling an embarrassing truth while avoiding eye contact all my life. I think it is important to take into consideration a person's background while assessing someone's responses." And Linda is exactly right. I'm glad that she brought up or made that comment, because unfortunately for Linda, and I'm sorry, Linda, if you're listening to this, I'm sorry for the way that for what you experienced. You're not alone. There's a lot of people that experience similar situations in life. And what Linda has just described is a teaching tool for all of us in investigations. And that is that when you tend to hear somebody explaining everything, especially about speaking with someone of the opposite sex, having to over-explain those things, that is an indicator of growing up in a abusive or DV relationship. It may be that it's from the past, or it might be something that they are currently in. For those of us that have the training and use the statement profiling principles, the linguistic analysis, we know that unsolicited explanations are a key part of what we look at. Those apply across the board no matter what language you're speaking. When somebody explains something and they weren't asked why, they weren't asked to explain, and yet they explain how something could have happened, that's a key for us. It's a key indicator, and it's actually one of the highest levels of sensitivity that we look at. It means that that person's feeling stress, and it typically correlates to deception within the statement. So that's why we look at it. It means they have an acute need to explain why something happened rather than just telling us what happened, which is very concise and simple and to the point. Okay? Now, when you have somebody that is over-explaining something, that is a key indicator of possible abusive relationship. Context is always key. And the good thing for us is that there will be other indicators of deception and high sensitivity, other principles that we look at in the language. And so we don't have to worry about that we're going to make a wrong analysis. When you have deception, there are multiple things that will appear within the language that will indicate that deception is present. Okay, so that's something that you don't have to worry about. With that being said, understanding when somebody is in a domestic abusive relationship is key for us. It is often the reason for a crime being committed. It may have nothing to do with the crime at all, but it may be helpful for us to know as we go into an interview, or maybe to get this person the help that they need. I'll give you a quick example. Those of you that have taken either the live classes or have taken the full course online, Getting to the Truth, there's a statement in there that I have you analyze at the end of the second day in the live classes, and it's called the Missing Petty Fund. You might remember this as I explain it, but in the Missing Petty Fund, it's a female writer, and she is describing what she did in the morning. That she got up and she hit the shower, and she ate some Pop-Tarts, and she sat around and had a smoke, and stopped at a gas station, and she talked with a guy that she knew, and she describes why she's talking to him. She talked to him about her car, and she says the brakes have been making noise lately, and so she's given a reason as to why she's talking to this guy, and it's over explaining. And in the end, it has nothing to do with the Missing Petty Fund. But that type of over-explaining is indicative of someone that is in a DV relationship. She's with someone that is, or has been in that type of relationship. Has been or is currently with someone that is extremely jealous. And especially when it comes to talking with someone of the opposite sex, she has to explain everything that she does, or this person is going to be jealous, and it is going to cause more harm to her, physical or mental, verbal abuse, one or all of them. And so they tend to over-explain. So anyway, that's in that statement. Go back and take a look at that, and you'll see it, you'll recognize it. If you go back and look at the full analysis, and in some of the classes, I may not have pointed that out, but in more recent classes, I probably pointed out that is indicative of a domestic violent relationship. So anyway, go back and check that out. There's a lot of great examples in the courses that we have to look at. Okay, I want to give you an example from the Summer Wells case. Some of you might not be familiar with Summer Wells, but she is a 5-year-old girl who disappeared from her home in Tennessee. I believe it's been about a year now. And there have not been any arrests made in the case. It's still ongoing. Tennessee Bureau of Investigations has the case along with the local sheriff there. And there's been a lot of speculation and analysis on the case. A lot of people have weighed in on it, including myself, my friend Chris McDonough from the Interview Room. He's a retired homicide detective from California. Greg Cooper, with the executive director of the Cold Case Foundation. He used to supervise the behavioral analysis unit, the profilers at the FBI. His second in command, Dean Jackson, one of the brightest guys I've met, and then a whole host of other people, experts and YouTubers, and people who weighed in on this case. The parents, Don Wells and Candus Bly, they've been on Dr. Phil and all over YouTube. So anyway, the speculation is that for most of us is that it's pretty clear that the parents likely had something to do with this, her disappearance. They have guilty knowledge of it, and of course the parents are saying that they don't. And right from the get-go, right from the beginning, when they first talked to reporters, the parents stated that they believe that somebody came up on the property and snatched Summer away, and so that she was kidnapped. And there's a lot out there. There's a lot to this case. There's a lot to this case. I'm only going to focus on one comment by Candus that helps explain our unsolicited explanations. There's several others, and I may add some of those in later in another video, and maybe explain more about the Summer Wells case in other videos as well. But I want to focus on one particular thing that she said. So Chris McDonough did a great job. He went there to Tennessee, visited at Summer's home, and her mom Candus actually walked Chris through the day. I mean, physically took him and did a walkthrough of the day and what occurred. And part of that was at the house, and she walked him, through the house. And now remember that her story is that Summer was taken from the property. The likelihood of this is, the odds of it are about as good as getting struck by lightning. Okay, it's very small odds that this could have happened, and things would have had to align just so for somebody to come up onto that property, get past the dogs, be there at just the right moment, and take Summer within just a few minutes time when she's by herself. And there's a lot involved there that it's a pretty good indication that it likely did not happen, just by the evidence itself. So Chris, as he's walking through the house with Candus, he's filming. And so I'm going to play you a little clip of Candus. They're down in this basement, and it's like a hole in the ground. It's unfinished. It's very difficult to get down into, but that's where Candus and Dawn sleep, and Summer was sleeping down there as well. There's a door down there that goes out into the back portion. It's kind of a hill area, and so this is one of those doors that goes out to the, comes out right onto the ground, but it's a little bit lower than the front door. So it's just the elevation change. And listen to what Candus has to say, okay, as she's describing the day. It's just a few minute clip, but take a listen to what she has to say.
That she likes them new fashion, I don't know what they are, little princesses or whatever. She's like all kinds. Here's one of them bracelets.
Oh, that's just one of them what do they call these? Oh, this is little pony bracelets.
Yeah, I don't know what they were really called, but she liked them, and so I just, every time I go to the garage sale, I'd buy her what she wanted.
Okay.
Whenever I got a little bit of money, I spend it on the kids.
Yeah, this is her, I understand her now.
Yeah.
Even better. Thank you.
You're welcome.
This is really important.
But yeah, I come down and I searched. I looked up underneath the beds under there. We can't really get on. I can't get under there.
Yeah.
But I looked under there, looked under every blanket I could possibly look under.
Yep.
And then I come over here and I looked on one side. I didn't see nowhere. And I don't recall if this was locked or not. I don't recall that.
Okay.
But I know, it's hard on me. But I know I did come out here and I said, Summer. Because sometimes she'll sit right here and just sit here and play just for, And usually when she comes out and she goes directly that way up to the swing.
Oh, okay, so this is like her,
yeah,
where she come running out. Yeah. Oh, yeah, you can see the path here.
Right to the swing.
Right, you can see where she could have run right up to here.
And this is all the further she would go. She wouldn't leave.
Okay.
She wouldn't go out nowhere else.
Okay, so did you hear it? Candus gave you an explanation, and it shows that there is acute sensitivity there, an acute need to explain why she did what she did, why Candus did what she did. But listen to what she said. I'm just going to read the transcript of what Candus said. Okay? She said, as she's opening the door, okay, she said, I don't know if this door was locked or not. Well, in another location within the interview, she did say that the door was locked. Nobody was allowed in or out. Okay, so this refutes that. And there's a lot of other stuff that refutes the story, but concentrate on this. She says, but I know I did come out here, and I said, Summer. Because sometimes she'll sit right here and just sit here and play just for, you know? All right, so that was real quick. Let's break that down a little bit. She said, but I know I did come out here and I said, Summer. I'm going to stop right there. If this didn't happen, if it didn't happen, Candus is feeling stress, and she needs to explain not only how this happened, why it happened. You know, a lie begets a lie. In order to explain a lie, you have to lie. Okay? And that creates more stress within our brain. Our brains are designed to tell the truth. And the more that we explain a lie, the more stress builds up in our brain, and that just continues to build and build and build. And so every time that the story is then built upon with more lies and more stress. And that's good for us. It's bad for them. What she said was that she's looking for Summer. And just prior to this, she was saying that she looked under every blanket she could possibly look under. Okay? And then she walked out this door. And I said, Summer. Now, if you really experienced that and your little girl was missing and you're looking for her, would you walk out a door and say, Summer? Or would you walk out the door and shout or yell for Summer? Right? You would yell. This is one of those things. This is the word said is communicative language. And I know we're not talking about communicative language today, but remember what I said. There are many, many principles, and you don't have to hang your hat on one principle alone. If there's sensitivity in one area, there is going to be a sensitivity in other areas, and there's going to be mix-up in the language. They will actually recount and retell us the way that they actually remembered it, the way they experienced it. Or if they didn't experience it, they will use the wrong verbiage because there's nothing within them. There's no memory that they can recount and call upon and fall upon to then tell us what happened appropriately. And so they will use the wrong verbiage. And communicative language is one of those things that they mess up on. And in this case, she said, I came out and I said, Summer. Okay? You wouldn't do that. You would, in fact, in other part of her story, another time, she said that they were shouting, they were yelling for her. That's what they were doing to try to find Summer, was they were shouting and yelling her name. Okay? But Candus now said, I came out and I said Summer. Okay? Instead of shouting it and yelling for her and calling her name. Said is soft, communicative language, and it's not appropriate in its context. And so she's quoting what she did, Summer. And then she justified it. Because sometimes she'll sit right here and just sit here and play just for, you know, and she's pointing right outside the door. So in other words, this is so sensitive to her, this lie, that she had to justify why this would work, why it makes sense that she would come out and say Summer, because Summer, this is what Summer would usually do. What Summer's normal activity is. She would come out and just sit here, right here, and play. And so that's why I would come out here and say, Summer. She may have done, I believe that this is something that she's done in the past. She's perseverating from something that a prior incident and placing it into this incident. And it's not something that actually happened this time, but it's something that happened in the past. And, or, you know, has probably happened many times that she's said Summer, and because Summer's out there playing, she's looking for her or whatever the case is. But what this shows at this time is there's an acute need to explain her story, to make it make sense. And this is what happens. This over explaining, the unsolicited explanations. Chris didn't ask her why it happened or why she would say Summer. It just came out. It was just part of it. And it shows that she has an acute need to explain why that would happen. Okay? I hope that helps you. There's a lot more to that, and hopefully I'll get to more of the Summer Wells in another episode here. Okay, what I want to do now is play for you a portion of an interview. This is actually a portion of an interview that I am, this is going to be part of an interview class that I'm preparing. So that will be upcoming. I'll have an interview class. It's Winning the Interview. And I'm excited about it because it builds on the training that we have now and puts it into practice. How to use this in an interview setting. And so for all my investigators out there, anyone that does interviews, even hiring interviews, not only hiring, but the sexual harassment and workplace injury complaints and the he said, she said complaints and investigations that some of you have to handle at work, whatever they are, this is going to help you. And I'm excited about it. There's no better foundation for interviewing than what we're teaching here. There's a lot of interview schools out there, and a lot of them are very old and outdated. Even the ones that are the gold standard are old and outdated. This is the best type of interviewing. Let the people tell you. They have the information. Let them tell you, and they actually do tell you. And I'm gonna show you here in this little clip how that works. Okay, I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail in the interview, but I'm going to focus on the unsolicited explanations, and that's what I want you to listen for. So here's the context of this interview. I'm interviewing a female who reported that she was being stalked and that this unknown person that was stalking her was leaving notes on her car and at her house, and and on one occasion also left some flowers on her car. Okay, and so this is only a couple minutes, maybe 3 minutes. Listen for the explanations, because most people are gonna miss this. It goes by so quick. But I want you to listen for the explanations that she gives, the unsolicited explanations, to make her story make sense. That's why they're needed, to make it make sense. And it shows that she has an acute need to explain it in a way that it makes sense for me, the investigator, so that I'll buy it. All right? And a lot of people will buy this, even experienced interviewers and investigators, they buy it. This goes right past them. And it used to go right past me until I got used to, until I understood what to listen for and why it was so important. So listen to this clip and see if you pick up the unsolicited explanations, and then we'll talk about it.
Yeah, no.
Was your sister there too?
Yeah, my sister was there.
How old is she?
11.
11. Did she see the flowers?
I don't know. She probably would have said something if she saw flowers. She's 11. She would have said something. But she didn't. Neither one of them did. They usually, when we go to breakfast, they usually just, they'll either drop me off or walk inside with me. And they were dropping me off at that point, and they just got out of the car to give me a hug. So that's when my dad looked right at him. I didn't see my little sister. Gave him hugs, and they drove off. And I took the flowers and went inside.
Were you holding the flowers when you gave him a hug?
No.
They were still where?
On the car.
What part of the car were they on?
Just front of the car.
Describe it to me.
The car?
Yeah, where they were sitting.
Similar place as the note that's on the windshield. Driver's side. Kind of where the windshield wipers are, at the bottom of the windshield. And I had seen them kind of at an angle because, like I said, there's only 3 cars before the dumpster, and that's where the sidewalk is too, so that's where they stopped their car. Should say goodbye, because I walk on that path back to my apartment, so I could see at an angle, I could see the flowers from there. And, the car that parks next to me, my neighbor's car was not there.
So I want to be, so I understand. You have a pen right there. Draw me how the layout is, the dumpster, the sidewalk, your car spaces and all that. Where were you when you saw the flowers?
Pretty much right here. Almost, I actually saw, there's an outdoor cat that I feed, and I saw that run out from underneath my car. So I was looking that way anyway, and so when I got out of the car, I looked that way again for the cat, and that's when I saw the flowers. So I was out of the car. The car doors were still open. I leave mine open because my sister comes into the front when I get out, and they leave. So we did our hugs. His car really should be right here because we were in front of the path. But
You're in front of the path right here?
yeah, I just made his car too close up.
Okay.
But
Okay, did you hear the explanations? Sometimes they're difficult to pick up. I have a transcript of what she said. I wrote it out. So she said that she was at breakfast with her dad and sister, and then they dropped her off at her home, her apartment complex. And I asked, did she, the sister, see the flowers? And she responded, I don't know. She probably would have said something if she saw the flowers. She's 11. She would have said something, but she didn't. Neither one of them did. They usually, when we go to breakfast, they'll drop me off or walk inside with me. And they were dropping me off at that point, and they just got out of the car to give me a hug, which is the reason why, to give me a hug. So that's when my dad looked right at them. I didn't see them. He gave me a hug, and they drove off. And I took the flowers and went inside. And so I asked, were you holding the flowers? No. I asked where the flowers were, and she said, on the car. And I said, what part of the car were they on? She said, the front of the car. Okay? Not specific. So I said, describe it to me. That's a great question. Describe it to me. Now, she has to go into detail. I'm forcing her to go into detail. And if it's a lie, she's going to give away more sensitivity indicators. She has to answer a lie with a lie, okay? So this in effect makes her stress level go up, okay? So it's elevating it. So listen to what she says. I said, describe it to me. She says, the car? I said, yeah, where they were sitting. So now she says, similar place as the note that's on the windshield. So note that it's not the note that was on the windshield, it's the note that's on the windshield, okay? This is present tense. That's an indicator to me that this is maybe something that's not from experiential memory, which in the end it wasn't. She says, driver's side, kind of where the windshield wipers are, at the bottom of the windshield. And I had seen them kind of at an angle because here's the reason why I saw them at the angle. Like I said, there's only 3 cars before the dumpster, and that's where the sidewalk is too. So that's where they dropped, that's where they stopped their car to say goodbye. 'Cause I walk along that path to my apartment. Those are all key indicator words. Because, so, 'cause. Those are indicators, of course, that she's given us a reason why. Why this could have happened. How she saw them at an angle. Now she gives another one. So, I could see at an angle, I see the flowers from there. The car that's parked next to me, my neighbor's car was not there. She had to throw that in order for it to make sense. It's another reason why it's not associated with the words because, since, so, or to, but she had to describe it. My neighbor's car was not there in order for it to make sense. It's one of the reasons why she was able to do it, why she was able to see it at an angle. I recognized that she was giving me a lot of unsolicited explanation, like a lot of unsolicited explanation. And so what do I have her do? I pull out a piece of paper and I gave it to her and I had her draw a picture. I said, draw the layout. Draw out the layout. Where were you when you saw the flowers? Okay, so she's drawn this layout and I skipped over a little bit of that while she's drawing it out. Okay, and then I asked her, once she drew it out, I said, where were you when you saw the flowers? Okay, now I knew that she was giving unsolicited explanations in the beginning. So by giving her the paper, have her draw it, was going to elevate that stress some more. And then I asked her a follow-up question, where were you when you saw the flowers? She said she saw them at an angle. Okay, well, where were you? Now, I'm pretty certain that this is a lie already. So now she's going to have to answer me with a lie. So I expect more of the same unsolicited explanations. And she didn't disappoint. This is what she said. I was right here, and she's pointing to a place on the paper, on her drawing. I actually saw, listen to this. This is classic explanation, unsolicited. There's an outdoor cat that I feed, and I saw that run out from underneath my car. So I was looking that way anyway. And so when I got out of the car, I looked that way again for the cat. She actually had to explain to me why she was looking that way towards her car in order to see those flowers. Let me just say it this way. It wasn't enough for her just to say that I saw the flowers on my car. People that are telling the truth don't have to explain it. They can just state it. I got dropped off and I saw the flowers on my car. And they can tell what happened forwards and backwards in chronological order. They give details. There's a lot that goes into that. This young lady couldn't do that. She had to give me this explanation over explaining, an explanation upon explanation upon explanation as to why it happened. And here, this outdoor cat, I feed it, and I saw it run out from underneath my car. So I was looking that way anyway. And so when I got out of the car, I looked that way again for the cat. And that's when I saw the flowers. So I was out of the car. All that for, where were you when you saw the flowers? And all she really had to do was say, I was right here. I was standing right there. But that wasn't enough, because her brain knows that it didn't happen. And so what happened within her brain? It cued her and it prompted her. It was as if his brain's knocking on her noggin and saying, hey, you better be careful, because they're going to ask you, they're going to wonder how it was that you were able to see those flowers from there, so you better explain it. And she went into all this explanation about the cat and how she was looking that way, and then previously before that her neighbor's car wasn't there, so which made it possible for her to see her car from where she was dropped off and where she's on the sidewalk, the whole thing. It was pretty amazing. And so, in effect, it was a very short little period of time within that interview. There's much more to that that's all going to be coming out in the winning the interview class that's going to be coming up. She taught me by what she said, not only that she had an acute need to persuade me and to explain to me, which told me that she was probably not telling the truth. Well, there was a lot of other things in there. I knew she wasn't telling the truth. And so she taught me what questions to ask and where to focus my questions. And all I had to ask is, where were you? And it created more stress after she's drawing out this, just the drawing itself created that stress. And so it's just a wonderful tool. It is so effective. It works so well. You ask the right questions, it begets the golden answers that give us the information. If you know what to listen for and what to look for. And what's happening here is, as we went through the interview, the stress continued to build for her. Continued to build because we just continued this. She couldn't, I mean, the story went on and on and on. And so we just continued this, and the stress continued to build and build and build and build. And eventually it got to her. And all I had to say to her was, do we really need to continue this? And she said no. She broke down and she confessed. It was that simple. And that happens over and over and over in these interviews. The stress builds, and our brains aren't designed to handle that type of stress, especially good people that have just done something wrong. But this occurs even with people that know and have a habit of doing things wrong. The same principles apply. I see it over and over and over again in those statements as well. And when we do those interviews, the stress still builds, and it's very easy to get those legally sound confessions. They actually are able to see by the questions that we ask that it's not going well. And so then we can give them a psychological reason out, maybe a justification for why the crime was committed. They often offer that to us within their language anyway, and we just let them take it, and we let them give us a psychological out. So anyway, that is Unsolicited Explanations. I hope that helped you moving forward. Use the things that you've learned. For those of you that haven't taken the classes, jump into the classes. I promise they will help you no matter what you're doing, even if it's just raising your kids, teaching school, dealing with your coworkers, dealing with the veterinarian, the salesman, whoever it is, your neighbors, whoever it is. I can't tell you how many times that I've used this. It's hard to turn off in my personal life and everyday life. Unfortunately, even at church, I've used it. There's a little confession right there. So jump into the training. And I hope that this has helped you. There'll be many more to come. So stay tuned. Keep up the good work, everybody. Keep your words positive. This goes in reverse. You've seen how the words can reveal what's within our brain. Same thing will happen in reverse. You speak positive about yourself, about the world around you. You create a positive outcome. The universe goes to work to make things happen. And your words can make a huge difference, not only in your life, but in the life of your family and the people that are around you. So do some great things this week. We'll talk to you next time.